Welcome back to the Wisemen Say podcast, powered by Yamo Media. Ty Fisher alongside Jerald Lucas, Chase Vance, owner and president of Inner Columbus FC.
Don't forget player.
Are you still playing now? Or
I can be. I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
okay, all right. Yeah. We were talking off camera. It seems like a year ago. You were here talking about
it's
the beginning
I know.
of Inner Columbus.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
How's that going? How's that been going? And just looking at the success of the first year, how's that gone?
Yeah, the last 12 to 18 months honestly have been a whirlwind, as you can imagine. Our growth has been crazy, and I think it has a lot to do with just how we run the program. The professionalism behind it, the structure. I think that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. I think that has caused just natural success in terms of the coaches, the staff, and the quality, or I say the caliber of player that we bring to. And like I can be biased about it, but it comes from the top down in any organization.
Right.
And like we talked about it last year, it's like how you run, how you operate anything is what you're going to get back, right, in return. And I think that's a big differentiator with our club. And that's one thing we take like very seriously, but we have fun with it too.
Right.
Because if you're too strict, then you don't have fun. And the players feed off that. You know what I mean? And I know I'm kind of partial because, I'm the owner. I'm 29, right? So I can still play, and I'm still fit enough to play. And this year I'm kind of balancing like, hey, I'm hiring all these people. Do I still want to play? How do I differentiate myself with the leadership? That was a tough thing last year. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of our success, even though Coach Blevins, like they had 3 guys they voted for coaches, and I was like, don't choose me. And the players base still chose me just because I was leading on the field when I was playing and training and stuff.
Right.
Like it's just, that's who I am. Right. And I was like, I really don't want to be the captain just because it's me, and I'm the owner. Yeah. But like they loved it, right? They wanted it. So some people just feed off you, and I think that's a lot of the success came naturally just because of how I portrayed to my coaches, the level of quality we needed from them, the players, and I think I'm really blessed. That was our second year last year, our first semi-pro year, and it's just, and we even had carryover from the first year in terms of the player base. And the new players just came in, got along with all the players. We never had an issue. These are college and alumni college players, so it can get heated, but and it does, but it doesn't get like they want to, brawl, which is good. Yeah, that's hard to find in any culture, in any sport. So I'm proud of that. But yeah, I wrote a couple things down. I didn't want to miss it because you guys had me some good questions on here. But I put players wore the crest well. And I think, we gave them expectations and standards, but they just went out there and they fought, One thing I put on here is we made every game tough for our opponents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No matter who it was, we didn't have any expectation. We just went out there. We didn't expect to win. We didn't expect to lose. We just went out there, played our best. And I think a lot of that had to do with our coach. And our staff in general. They pushed the players to be their best, and they never, they never faltered. Like they just kept pushing in a good way, like not too much. You know what I mean? There's a balance of being, overly, critical and just not too lackadaisical. You know what I mean? There's a balance there, and most coaches they don't have that balance. Yeah, and most owners don't have the balance. And I don't know how I do it, but I was very impressed with Caleb and what he did in year 1. For him to come out, he's, his coaching experience is amazing, but like he's never coached the semi-pro level, right? Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have any doubt in him from training because I already knew what he could bring. It was just incredible. The player relations, like that's the hardest part to find in a coach is the player relation, like that philosophy. Like how do they react to the players? How do they treat the players? And it was like pure respect. Mm-hmm. And the players loved it. You know what I mean? And they understood like, hey, this is our role. This is your role. Tell me what to do and I'll do it for you, coach, kind of mentality. Right. That's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so that's a couple of those things were a part of our success last year. But like even with the player base, the staff, and me, like you saw, even with our media team, you guys and Jerry, like you saw the passion, right? Yeah. You saw the grit. You saw the intensity between all of us. And I think most importantly, like you saw the honor, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing with our brand. All those characteristics and traits that people love, and I think that's one thing. All those traits are hard to find in any sports team, in any organization, any company. That's one thing that we don't take for granted. We don't take lightly, but we know we have to earn all that, right? But it does definitely. It doesn't come naturally, those things, but you have to, when you get the right people together for the right common goal, and not just about winning. It's for the culture, for each other. Like you're fighting for that same thing, right? I think that energy just keeps on going, right?
Yeah.
And we had games like, where it was tough, right? So, we had an early loss to Foot Ohio, 2-1. We really didn't get outplayed. It was just like kind of a mental thing, right? And then after that game, I think that was a kind of an eye opener. Like, wow, for all the guys. And then after that, we just went on a hot streak until the last 2 or 3 games where we tied Lions, and then we had to go away, which we'll talk about the away stuff later. But yeah, I think after that, after you lose, like after you fail in anything, like you realize what it really takes. Being a first-year team in the league, because it's a good league, and we can get into that later. A little underrated, I think, from some people, but we'll talk about that with the Crew and Cincy team too, and how well they've done this past year or the past season. But a couple other things, I don't want to take too long, but like also we saw like the unity of the group too. And one thing that I'm preaching now is like, it's for the collective, right? And the crew organization, took it out of my mouth, like the unity and together, like I'm all about that since day one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that other people in Columbus realize that it's like a team. It's all team sport, all team effort. And I'm glad, the Crew organization brings that down, because we take that too since day one. I think that's a big thing. And just a genuine team environment. I think that's been big for us. But yeah, I'm very proud and impressed overall with our group. I think a few people did doubt us. We even had a coaching staff member doubt us before we even went into the league. And I said, don't worry, it's going to be fine. You know what I mean? Just because like, it's not all about confidence. It's like, I just had faith,
Yeah.
I had faith in my ability, coach's ability. One guy's not gonna, and he still was with us the whole season, right? And he's not with us anymore because he moved out of state. But he's one of the most loyal guys in our organization. He still wants to follow us but he's just one of the, everyone has that skeptical friend, that skeptical, guy beside you. So you just gotta have faith in yourself and what you're doing. And other teams doubted you and everything, but at the end of the day, going 6-2-2 and giving it our best, it was impressive. So I'm proud of the group for sure. So
you guys played 10 games?
It was 10 regular season and the one
playoff
conference semifinal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was, I think, not to get too far ahead, that was against that Indy team, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to travel to Indy. So
Yeah.
Was it Gladiator or something like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
I think I do remember I was at the game when they came here and whatnot.
Yeah. We manhandled them that game.
Yeah.
But when we went there, we just got manhandled. So, so it was like, it's home field heavy advantage for both teams.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy drive for either side, 3 hours or whatever. Yeah.
One thing I can say, I did see, you touched on like the togetherness, the unity. I actually spoke with you after the friendly that you had with the Crew Academy, and which happened to be turned into the Crew's UPSL team now.
That crazy.
Yeah.
But the first half, they were, Inter Columbus was up 2-0.
Yeah.
And then it just was like something at halftime. And I remember coming to you and telling you, like, look, you guys got a bright future. And this team out there that you played against, the Crew Academy, and I told you that was Wilfred Nancy's coaching style.
Their system, yeah.
And he, you saw it all season with the Crew 2, all the way down to, to the Academy. And, fortunately it was a 4-2, loss with the friendly, but you guys didn't
subbed
quit.
a lot.
Yeah. You guys didn't quit. And they happen, that Academy team actually has actually had a couple players now that's, signed homegrown contracts and, next pro contracts.
For sure.
Because Taha was out there, Maroka, and
That's true.
Yeah.
I never even realized that. Wow.
So I mean, it's just one of those where you guys didn't quit, and I told you, don't hang your hat up, off of this one because this was Coach Nancy. We saw everything in training, leading up to everything, but this was him
Definitely.
and his system. But
that was early on too.
yeah, and then we saw it with the Pittsburgh team that came in for the friendly. It was colder than hell out there with that wind.
Yeah, that was brutal.
That was a good quality friendly though. That was. They're a good team.
That was.
And
because
they
were
2-1.
were they like one of the top teams in the league or something like that?
EPSL, yeah, they did really well the season before that. They're not in the EPSL anymore. I don't know why. But they're in like their local league. But no, they had some really good international players.
Yeah.
And that was a tough. And then for them to drive and still play that well, that was impressive. It's a 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive.
I think my phone died that day because of
same, because it was so cold. It was like the cold just drained our batteries. I'm just like, dude, I'm fucking freezing. But now looking ahead to this season, right? I've seen on social media guys have had tryouts the last, I think, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I know I told you earlier I was going to be there on Saturday, but I was in the dark all day just because Pedig was just going from here all the. I'm just like, I can't do light right now.
excuses.
But on average, just how many attendees were there, and what's to look for? What are we looking forward to, like this last round? Of tryouts.
Definitely. So we did have an ID clinic in November, which we kind of softly told people that was a tryout, which it was. If we liked you with the ID clinic, we invited you back. And there was about 10 guys we liked, so they came back. But out of the total 3 tryouts, the first ID clinic was 35, second was 60, and then the other one was 35. So we had 140 tryout attendees between 3 sessions, which is ridiculous. And so that just shows what's happening is working for us. And then we have an invite only tryout. So the guys that we like, we invite back to see them one last time. Sometimes you miss things. You're like, oh, maybe not. And then other times you're like, okay, yeah, this is a no-brainer, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's some college guys. We don't like doing this, but if we know you're a high-quality college guy, we know the coach that coached you, we will invite those players because usually they can't make the open tryouts anyway. So there'll probably be, 10 or 15 high-level D1, NAIA, D2 college guys that'll be there, and no one's ever seen them before, but they're probably going to be the top guys. And that's one of the things that we'll get into here is like player development and with the growth in general. A lot of it has to do with, our college and honestly our professional connections around Columbus and Ohio. We have a lot of good, I know a lot of coaches, and then Caleb knows. It's ridiculous how many people he knows. We send emails out professionally in a professional way. Hey, have your players fill this form out if they're interested in playing for a summer team. A lot of things with college teams, they don't have that summer option for players, right? Mm-hmm. And so the MPSL, UPSL teams can come in and be like, hey, you guys can play with us for a season. Like, this is our prime time, right? So you can get guys from all over the state. And we did get a couple guys, South and North Ohio last year, which really helped. But mostly we're Central Ohio. But in terms of the player development, what is in it for them? I think that's a big thing with our league. A lot of people don't see it because a lot of the moves happen after the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we had a player, Daniel Baumgartner, one of our top guys, he played in Australia, came here. We're like, okay, this is a no-brainer, right? He was a referral from a guy that was with us on season 1 that stayed with us, right? He was literally a referral.
Nice.
Saw him play at OSU Turfs. He's like, Chase, this guy's the real deal. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, he's good.
It's unbelievable. And he showed it with the stats. And now he's moved back to California where he's from, with his girl. And he's looking to play for the LA Force, which is a NISA team.
Oh.
So, yeah, if he gets there, then we have some marketing to do because that's insane, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So we have a lot of players, and we have another player from ODU actually. Yeah, everyone knows him, right? He's been playing overseas recently, and he's looking to get signed to a pretty big club. We don't know yet. He's still open to playing with us if he's here, which is good. But that's another thing we can talk about. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we got a couple
off-camera type of thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
so we got a couple guys that are doing some big things, which is exciting. But I think with them, like it gives them the college guys more opportunity to advance to either another college or to another team. We had 3 college guys last year. I think that could go to a pro combine and do pretty well. Especially Daniel, right? He's ready to go. It's kind of above his level, below his level. Players like that, you're just honored to even have a guy like that, and he's a good guy, no ego. That's what we're all about, right?
Didn't he used to play for? Didn't he have like a couple games under his belt with the NPSL team, Akron City?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix. He was playing with he played with us, and then for 6 or 7 weeks, and then he went to try the NPSL out.
Yeah, because I remember he played.
And he
against
asked
FC
me before,
Columbus.
so yeah.
And you were there, and I was calling the game and whatnot. Yeah, I remember that. All
Definitely.
right.
Yeah,
That's I do like Daniel. He is good. He's very good.
he's top notch.
So
But,
you touching on player development. Do you see like the UPSL being a pathway to like a little here in Columbus? Do you see the UPSL teams having a pathway to like MLS Next Pro or some of the other the USL teams?
No, I definitely do now. After seeing all of the MLS, club academy teams come in, it's like it's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Their coaches see our players, and like even that friendly, right? Like one of the ODU boys already knew the coach, and he's like, "You're lucky you're not on our team." Like he wants him. You know what I mean? And so that gives him more exposure for the crew system. You know what I mean? And that's huge. If any players in the UPSL can get any more exposure to FC Cincinnati, to the crew, like those are 2 monsters, right, in our league. And that's why our league is known as one of the toughest conferences in the country for UPSL, because we have those 2 clubs and those 2 academies. And in terms of player development, like if they see a player they like, who can stop them from going after him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we don't pay him, right? They're not going to pay him, but they can provide him housing and all this stuff, provide him way more opportunity than we can, which is awesome. That's what we want. We want that exposure. And I think, honestly, the UPSL, and I'll say it, like the UPSL gives more exposure to pro development than NPSL all day long, to be honest. I think the NPSL, both leagues are overlooked, but I think the UPSL, with their branding and their notoriety, so many academy teams are joining because they know the level is high.
Yeah.
And they know this is a pathway, or at least for their academy players, for the crew of this FC Cincinnati, their players are going to develop faster in this league than they will in the NPSL. Maybe even the USL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the sheer amount of teams joining, it just speaks volumes. And I think that didn't happen 2 or 3 years ago. You didn't see that in the EPSL. Now you're seeing droves of teams coming in. And now in the top 4 for the fall, you have 2 MLS academy teams, right?
Yeah.
St. Louis and Crew.
Yep.
So it's like, it's crazy. Right?
And I'm not mistaken, also just the growth of Ohio teams in general. Yeah. I think within Columbus, there's, I think maybe better number than I do, 5, 6, possibly 7, maybe.
I think there's 7.
I mean, there's
7 teams now.
Just in Columbus in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in the UPSL, yeah.
So now
the growth
on a more broader scale, let's just kind of focus it locally. I wouldn't say does the Crew have any factor in all these teams joining, but Columbus in general, the soccer scene is definitely growing.
Definitely.
How can, Inter Columbus compete with the marketing standpoint, because you're more on the business side now.
For sure.
The marketing standpoint between Greater Columbus, Foot Ohio, and all these other teams. Yeah, and all these other teams. Even more so.
That was a funny name.
I was ahead of them. I mean, I know a lot of these owners, right?
Yeah.
And I'm honestly one of the crux owners to get these teams into our league. And the UPSL knows that. And so if it wasn't for Inter Columbus, there would only be 3 teams in the UPSL right now. If we never existed, and the CPSL would still have all these teams. So there's been a lot of teams from the CPSL like us that came, the local teams, come out. There's 4 new UPSL teams, right? But the one thing that, like I said, differentiates us between others is like our branding in general. Since day one, I've grown the branding in all the channels, right? We have a legit website. We take it serious. We update the website. It's not stale, sitting there boring all the time. Like, I put thousands of dollars into this club just for branding every year.
Yeah.
And it's paying off.
Damn right it is.
And I've always, and you know what I mean? And that's the investment though.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a passion project, right? I'm not making any money. I'll tell someone right now I'm not making money on it. But it's like, that's the impact I want to have in our communities. Like, one club can make an impact for the whole city of Columbus. Not just for its club alone, but for all the other clubs, to motivate their owners to do better, right? And to set a standard for top end, bringing quality caliber players more into our city for better exposure, right? And to make their clubs better too, right? And I feel like I have like a responsibility now to keep it alive because I've set that standard, right?
Yeah.
And the other owners know that. We always talk about things. They're impressed with what I'm doing. I'm a humble guy, right?
Yep.
I'm like, hey, I'm just doing this for all of us, right? It's not just about Inner Columbus. It's about all of Columbus, all of Ohio, and growing the sport and giving more players the opportunity to showcase themselves. And that's all everywhere on our media, everywhere on our website. Like, we give the players opportunity, whether they're with us, Greater Columbus, Astray, Foot Ohio, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how I feel about other clubs or whatever. I'm good with most of them, right?
Yeah.
Most of them are cool. At the end of the day, it's what exposure can we give to these players? What impact can we make in our community? How can we better the soccer scene, and really enjoy the sport? And I think we're doing a really good job. And I think the branding is paid off since day one. So that's definitely, and it's already seeing like 140 tryout. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's mental.
Like, I was talking to Corbin in Greater Columbus, like, and I said, we literally have 330 tryout attendees from the last 2 years on our tryout form from our website. And he's like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I have to make a new form because it's so crazy now. I can't even keep it organized. And it's like, I'm grateful, to be honest. But we can get back to the next things.
Yeah.
You're talking about, being with the community and marketing in the community. Yep. Last year, you set a goal that you wanted for Inner Columbus, and you wanted to grow the brand in the youth department. How has that goal,
definitely,
coming along? Is there something in the works? Is there?
Yeah, definitely. So my mindset's shifted a little bit. I realized that I need to get my bearings in place before I can start a youth program, because you need to be a little bit better funded in terms of sponsorship, maybe equity partnerships, which we're working on that past couple months because our branding's gotten better. I realized at the beginning, when you have no brand, no reputation, it's a lot more difficult to bring in corporate sponsors, local sponsors, you name it. And I know a lot of business owners, but now they finally realize, after I talk to them, say, oh, you guys are established. Like, okay, 2 years, sure. You know what I mean? But we've already, our brand's so solid now. It seems like we've been in it for 5-10 years.
Yeah.
But I think a big thing with us, with the youth side, it's, I'm not, I guess, proud to say that I didn't do much for the youth program. It was just, I was so busy with the semi-pro side. And I think I realized that one team isn't enough, And so this year we have to do 2 men's teams. One of them will be in the UPSL, and the other one will be in the NOSL. And I think the NOSL gives the second most, I guess, exposure to our players, the quality league, quality fields, the second most quality competition, right? That those players can grow into the UPSL, or at least have really quality games, you know what I mean? And have a chance to actually not play against a Sunday league team or players. Because you're still playing against high-level college guys in the NOSL too.
Yeah. And
guys that take the sport seriously, which is hard to find. Those are the only 2 leagues I'd put players in, on the men's side. But, I have some things written down here, like, I would like to have a women's side, honestly, in the WPSL. Is that right?
Yep.
Next year. because I know the Eagles are dominating the space.
Yeah.
I would love to take them on. My competitive side of me. So, and they've done an awesome job with their branding too.
Yeah.
And we're always sharing each other's stuff, and I love it. So, the Eagles are definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I'm surprised no one's started another team because there's so many women all over Columbus, OSU, Capital. I mean, countless talent. It's crazy. And I know women like that I play co-ed games with at Resolute, Pickup. So many women don't have teams. I mean, you're talking like 22, 27 years old in their prime, and they're still solid.
Yeah.
And they're like, why aren't you have a team? Like, oh, I just haven't thought about it, And so I've like had, sending messages to certain people like, hey, would this benefit you? Like if we had a women's team, and they'd be like, yeah, I would tell my friends, like, And so I feel like I could, I guess, add value to that sector too before going youth. Because I just feel like we need to be a little bit more established on our semi-pro and amateur side. I would love to have both men and women before youth. And I think before we even get to the youth side, like I want to build a facility, and there's not one thing I talk about a lot. But I tell Caleb and my guys all the time, like I want to build a facility, like, Soccer Plus and Resolute, but it's going to have a huge turf field outside too. You can put a bubble on it, but also you have all the indoor fields, with the walls. So that's going to be a deep investment in a few years. That Chase is working on. So that's going to take the market for storm, I think. You can have trainings and stuff in there, but I think I want it soccer specific, I think. So,
Yeah.
For sure.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? So
You talk about having two men's team.
yeah.
Is it a chance that you might field a fall team for UPSL?
It's a possibility. The spring season is so demanding. It is nice to have a break. And, we didn't get too much flack for not having a team. They pushed us to have it because the UPSL, the league loves us, right? And they know the quality. They want us to keep going. But at the end of the day, the caliber of players you have between spring and fall is a landslide. It's way different. You don't have a lot of college guys on your team, right? So just naturally the level dips. And you have to understand that as an owner and operator. It's like, well, we could put an okay team out there, and you saw it. I mean, a team went out there in the fall, their first season, and got they got, it wasn't good. And so they realized how difficult the fall season is. It's easier at some point, but at the same point, it's harder because you don't have your top informed talent from colleges. Not most UPSL teams are not known to have college players. It's mostly alumni or, adults after college that are still fit or half fit, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Like UPSL is not known for collegiate players. That's the NPSL and USL, right? But like with our team specifically, we know that is how you're going to win the most games and be like high caliber.
Most consistent, I would assume. Also,
what is it?
Most consistent.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as form goes,
definitely. You don't have to worry about dropping form at 60, 70 minutes in, things like that. I think it's a huge thing that not a lot of people think about. And you saw it. A lot of our team was college based last year.
Yeah,
I would say maybe 60%, 65%. And we still did pretty well with what we had. Those players have never played together, most of them, except the ODU guys. So we did well enough, but it's the talent we're going to get this year, guys, is insane. I don't know if I'll say it on this podcast or not, but we got a couple players that have played a really high level. That is, if they step on the pitch, it's going to be insane. Just their CVs and resumes are outrageous. So, and it's crazy. But
last one from me. I know you talked about wanting to build a facility and everything like that.
Yep.
Are there any other major milestones or projects besides the two men's team, the women's team, youth down the road? Are there any other major projects that you as the owner operator envision for the club I'd say in the timeline of 5 years?
Oh, 5 years.
Yeah.
Other than what we've already talked about?
Yeah. like more national games that you want to get on your radar?
Yeah. So if we're talking about performance-based stuff, I do have some stuff written down. Well, obviously, we literally just got approved for the NOSL, the second team today, which is cool. Met with them 3 days ago. They approved us. I already know the owner of the league, so that was easy. But I still had to earn it, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
that's not. I don't want to discredit myself, obviously, but So with the NOSL, we got approved for that. I think a big thing for that, they have 20 teams now. They started with like 7 or 8 3 years ago. They got 12 last year, and they have 20 teams with us joining. So they have to have 2 divisions, okay? 10 teams in each, and we have to start in the second division. Right? Whatever. We'll take it.
You have to go it has to go through promotion or relegation.
Now it's promotion or relegation. That's cool. We can't fight greater for the title yet, okay? But maybe we can beat them in the cup. They have a cup tournament in the summer they're doing. Like the Premier League does.
What is this
It's
league?
crazy. So they have all these different options. So there is a chance to win this is called Stimulus. Stimulus is their sponsor.
Yeah.
And that's who sponsors this I think there's 8 or so teams or whatever. Out of the 20 teams can join if they want more games. And, it's all random areas of Ohio. But like I think there's extra 4 or 5 games to get to the final. You can win the Summer Cup, which is cool. We have that opportunity. That would be nice.
That'd be awesome.
But I think a big goal for that second team would be finish first out of those 10 teams.
Okay.
I think our second team will be caliber enough to make a stamp on it,
Yeah.
in the second division. I think that's a good goal. Reach for the stars for that. And then for the main UPSL team, we want to win a conference game for sure, but we want to win the conference final. Like we want to get past Cincy, get past the Crew, get into the national bracket, right? I think we got cut a little short last year because we tied those last 2 games 3-3, 2-2 against our local rivals, right? The reason that we tied, the result of tying those 2 games allowed us, I know we said we finished second. We actually finished 3rd out of 6 because we tied those 2 games, which we had to travel to the second place team, Indiana. So we had to go to Indiana to play our conference semifinal, which we lost 2-1. We made it harder for ourselves because of the 2 games results, right, prior. So we want to minimize any draws, right, in losses during the season so we can rank, get high, top 1-2 seed. And I think we're most excited about really playing the FC Cincinnati and the Crew. We're most excited about that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say we're not worried about the other teams, but they're not on our mind, right?
Yeah.
We know we want to go up against the best, and we know we can do some damage. And I think if we set the stage early, get up top of the table early, I think we can really go for those goals and get into the national 32. Like that's where the magic happens. That's what's exciting, right? That's when you get your club actually on the map. And for the Crew to do that, the first season in the fall, they beat Cincy beat them, and then they go play. Crew beats Cincy, it's just back and forth, right? So both teams are nuts. And then the Crew goes, and the hardest team they played was Chicago Nations.
Yeah.
That
was
top
Was
class.
that the penalty shootout?
Yeah. So Chicago Nations is an amazing team, top 5 in the nation every season, right? Insane team. And they, a lot of their guys aren't college. They're not. They're ex-college or not even went to college. They're just quality players, tough guys. Mostly American too, I'm pretty sure. And when the Crew played them, they struggled, but they still, I think it was 4-3 was the result.
Yeah.
It was a great game, probably one of the best UPSL games I've ever seen. And that was at Maffrey or Historic.
Yep.
That was really cool. And I watched all the other games, and really no other team gave them too big of a issue. Now they're in the Final Four. Final Four.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Yep.
In California.
Yeah.
I was like, that's insane. And so, knowing if you can get in that 32 game, then you can just make a run like they did. That's really what fuels me, and that's where we want to be. So that would be crazy to get there, especially in our second season. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I could tell you firsthand about that UPSL team. It's there's at least 5 players on there that is 2022 Next Pro champion.
wow.
So, they didn't get that much playing time with, Next Pro last year. But there's at least 5 players on that UPSL team that, have a ring under MLS Next Pro and is, I think they're, by bringing their academy, some of their next pro players down to the academy for the UPSL is helping with the development. And you touched on it, it's a chance to get out there, right?
Yeah.
But it like you said, it's huge that the Crew got in, first time in the UPSL, and you got St. Louis City Academy and Crew Academy, and I can't remember where the other two teams are from, but they're in a Final Four.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they make it look easy, but they've worked hard for it. The Crew has. They're good. They're a good program. They have a good system, like you guys say. It's all the same from the top down. And like when you run a program like that, like you're gonna succeed, right? And you're gonna make every game tough, like we do. And I think that's why I'm so excited about just that one matchup, or maybe two matchups. Next season. I think that'll really show what we have.
just stay away from the chili in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. But one thing I guess we didn't mention that you guys did ask, aspirations of our club to participate in a higher level league.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said basically UPSL is quality, but I said we have no interest in the MPSL. But I did contact the USL. I had a conversation with them. The USL is really heavy on territorial rights.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Which you'll see when we post our sponsor video. I touch on it. The access to soccer in America is really interesting, and that's one thing I say on this. Well, one of the guy that we had to do our audio, he says it on there. Like that's part of the script. Is the access for the sport in America is limited, right? And it's expensive. You know what I mean? I mean the USL, like I think I can say it, like it's $50,000 to get into the league, and then you have another $50,000 of other fees. You know what I mean? The MPSL is about 30 to 50.
Yeah.
So you have UPSL, MPSL, USL. That's what the quality that's the stepping stone ladder they say in the US soccer, and then you go to NISA and MLS next and MLS, and obviously all the USLs. But the initial USL, this is USL 2, right? This is like the bottom of the USL,
Right.
like Toledo Villa, right?
Yeah.
Dayton Dutch Lions. This is their level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to their owners and stuff, and they love it, obviously. But they obviously were the first ones in their territory to take it, right? And so I don't know if it's the Crew that's talking to them or FC Columbus. I don't know who it is, but someone beat us to it, which is cool. Because financially, we're not ready, but I think quality-wise we are. Mm-hmm. But you have to be more established financially to be in the USL. I mean, you have to be bringing in $50K at least a year.
Yeah.
Which isn't easy, right? Not easy at all.
No.
And so I did reach out to the USL. That would be the highest. USL 2 would be the highest level possible we could be in our area, and Ohio in general.
Yeah.
There's no NISA, nothing like that. There's no USL 1, no USL championship teams, I don't think.
No.
Not in Ohio.
I don't know what the Cleveland.
Yeah, not in Ohio. No.
What I don't know. Cleveland Force. What are they?
AFC Cleveland.
No, they're MPSL, right?
Yeah.
There's another Cleveland team. I thought it was a Cleveland Force, maybe.
I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head.
But yeah, it's so you just see like USL, like that's a high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's considered pro, I think. USL, maybe, or is it semi-pro still?
I think it might still be semi-pro.
It's just the highest level semi-pro, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like that question because it really makes you think and helps the listeners understand like access to this sport in our country, is not simple, and they made it not simple, right? Mm-hmm. And so for owners, it makes it difficult to want to really grow. And MLS, I mean, it's not. We talked about it last year. It's like $500 million to own an MLS club.
Yeah,
it's like nearly impossible. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So we'll stay in our lane, which is cool. You know what I mean? All the people that own MLS teams are like, actors and whatever.
We'll stay in our lane. We're good.
But yeah, there's a stepping. There's a staircase in US soccer, and it's you can only get so far with so much money, right? And it's a lot of a money thing too. It's unfortunate, but I think we can make an impact at our level no matter what, right? And we just have to focus on that.
Yeah.
So
I would love for the Open Cup to drop down and pick up some UPSL teams. And
I mean,
that'd be cool.
I think some UPSL teams already participate, like even like lower level amateurs are even in there just because of the league that they're in, and somehow, some way have that berth if they win it all to get in and whatnot.
Because I think that would be big for UPSL, is being able to participate in, the Open Cup, because you see, some of these USL 1, 2, teams playing in the Open Cup, and then when it gets to the MLS, guys coming in, it's just like, it's your tournament now.
Yeah.
Except you got a couple like Birmingham. I think it was Birmingham last year.
Birmingham Legion.
Yeah, Birmingham, upset, an MLS team.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We hate Detroit, because of them upsetting, Columbus in the Open Cup before.
I think the hatred with Detroit with Crew fans was well before even that.
Well, Ohio State, Michigan,
No, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's during the whole Save the Crew movement.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We touched on a little bit. So, what's next for Chase the owner and Chase the player?
Me personally?
We saw last year towards like the end of from the middle on, it was like you went from the starting, down to
Definitely.
Being a sub, but still being a voice.
For sure.
Is that something that
I don't mind that. And I told Coach Blevins, I told Caleb, I said, hey, if my performance drops, do it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother me, right? And I don't think it affected anything. You know what I mean? It didn't affect me at all. When it got later as the season went on, like, I almost had to do more just to get the game ready, right? I didn't have all my, this year will be way more organized. But I was like running around getting the video set up, and I was just not in the mindset, right? So it's like the first couple of games I might have been, I was more excited to play. But as I got more into the season, I realized this is an operational thing. It's not just playing a game, right? Because I was so invested into the brand, into just making everything smooth and YouTube live, and those things are not easy by yourself. And I realized that later in the season, and I got Jerry involved, Ty, I think one game involved. I realized that I need to plan, obviously, the media way in advance, get everything ready. I want it to be more professional. Like, it's required now. We want live stream. I want live stream anyway for all of us. I want to have a broadcast, one or two guys broadcasting, right? I want the scoreboard up like, other semi-pro teams have. I just want it to look good, smooth. And whether I'm on the field or not, I want it to run smooth, right? And nothing's going to take, whether I play or not, my passion's still going to be there 100%, right? I can still go on my weekend pickup and play, right? I can play in my 7v7 leagues and be happy, right?
And not score against me, thank you, God.
Yeah, there you go.
Come on now.
So if I play or not, I don't think that's a big deal. I'm more excited about the growth of the club and the collective, like I said. And at the end of the day, I still train and stay in shape and stuff, but I was messing around talking to Coach or Caleb the other day, our technical director now, not our coach, sorry. It's our technical director, I have to say that. I was messing around. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just, goof around in the NOSL games or something. You know what I mean? I know the UPSL games are just going to be busy for me, so we'll see. But last year I came out strong, I was playing well, and Caleb's like, yeah, you're going to start because you're playing really well, right? And so that's how he was like, I told him straight up, I was like, Caleb, only play me if I'm playing well. Don't be biased against me. I don't care. It doesn't matter who I am. Nothing. You guys know that.
Yeah.
I don't have no ego, right? And so, yeah, I felt good starting a couple games, and then I realized, and I was heavy lifting at that time too. So I don't know if I was slowing down or what. I wasn't working on my legs or something, but I just gradually slowed down. My mindset was fine. My body wouldn't just do what I wanted it to do. But so he definitely made good decisions. He pivoted well with players. And you're right. I felt like no matter if I was on the field or not, I had a good voice, and that voice helped the other leaders lead the entire team, the top 18, 20, and the coaches and the captains always were together talking. The captains and the normal players, they were just always communicating, collaborating. How can we do better? How can we pivot to, beat this guy or, score more goals, whatever. I think every game, halftime, at the end of the game, we were all in it for the same thing. And you could tell, like, just how we were communicating, like, everyone was in it, right? And, you know, the captains were great last year. We had a couple different ones, but even, like, the normal players respected everybody. The coaches, the captains, me, like, and that's one thing that you can't take back. Like, once you understand, like, that the culture is set this way, like, you're not changing it, right? Because the players that come each year in and out, like, sure, bad players are going to come in, they'll leave. You know, if it's toxic, they're not going to like it, right? Because we're encouraging, we're not always positive, right? But at the end of the day, we're there for those people, those guys. Like, we're not going to downgrade you. We're not going to, oh, you made a bad touch. You know, you can say small things, but, like, don't keep it going, right?
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, it's like, it's almost annoying, right? You can't, you know, like, I understand we're all high level, it's quality. Some guys just have bad days, right? And they know that. And everyone has bad days. You go out there training, oh, man, my touch is rough, man. Just don't worry about it. Like, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Like, that's the kind of mentality it is. Like, so you're not always going to be perfect. That's the sport. No one's perfect, right? You're always going to make mistakes. And I think if you don't make mistakes, you're not playing, you're playing too safe. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
And I think a lot of our guys, like, they pushed themselves so hard. They did make mistakes, but when they pushed themselves hard, they scored some amazing goals. You know what I mean? That was one thing, like, we don't talk about a lot, but, like, our highlights were insane. Like, even our away game, Muwe had a bicycle upper 90.
I remember seeing
in the corner bracket, and Jerry took their camera view from the goal. And you saw, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it was nuts. And we just had some really spectacular finishes. It was special. So I think just our goals alone showed, like, our culture, like, our flavor, like, how we play. It wasn't just like, oh, we had chemistry, we passed well. No, like, we had some creative plays, right? Yeah. And they weren't even, like, plays. They were just natural.
It's just how the ball moved.
It was beautiful. So it was pretty cool. It was a fun season last year. We're excited for this year for sure. So
nice.
Where's the home of Inner Columbus this year?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, me and you talked about this earlier.
You guys know we like Grandview Heights. You know, we love that. But they're doing stadium construction with their turf. You know, so from February to August, no one's allowed in there, and so that's a bummer. But we're asking around different high schools: Groveport, Madison, Bexley, DeSales, St. Francis, something like that. All these schools are really well located, I feel like, have really good stadiums in decent areas. Try to be central located, because Grandview is, like, the closest one to lower.com.
Yeah.
And it's, like, the best one. Like, a residential feel, like, you just feel it's solid. But we definitely, nothing against Whitehall, but we don't want to go back to Whitehall. Because of, you know, price and just the location. And, it's crazy over there. But it's not a bad area. It's just we don't want to be over there. Because last year all the teams kind of shared it, and it didn't feel like a home game. Anytime you're actually home or away, it was just you're there at Whitehall, right? So we want a place where we can actually call home stadium, wherever that's going to be. You know, we might even talk with Capital University. Purple would be cool. Have something purple on the field, right?
Hey.
So just stuff like that, but we'll see. It's too early. They're going to release the schedules in about 10 to 14 days. Once we get the actual draft schedule, we can take it to the schools, and then they can say, oh, yeah, we have that availability. It's kind of hard to find, like, a school to commit when they don't know the schedule. So
I think the Wellington school would be.
Maybe, but I know that's the home of FC Columbus.
Yeah, definitely.
Chase, where can the people see anything about Inner Columbus on social media?
Oh, where can they go?
Yeah.
Website, innercolumbusfc.com, and then social media, all kinds of stuff. Instagram, it's all Inner Columbus FC. It's just there's an underscore on some of them. Facebook, TikTok's growing steadily. We kind of took TikTok away, or off a little bit, but I realized how crazy it's become. Even in a year, I was like, TikTok's blown up. Like, I post something about tryouts, like 2,000 views. I was like, what the? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm working on the TikTok. The Twitter's, I'm working on that too. There's just not as many people on Twitter, it doesn't seem like, from my standpoint of a player base. It's more of the coaches and the
fans.
fans. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of our marketing and targeting goes towards the player base, right? Yeah. So, but it's and the fan base. But Instagram and Facebook are definitely our top channels, other than the website. And then YouTube is growing quick too. So, I think we're at like 105 subscribers or something. So that's pretty good for just having it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Posting some highlights and stuff. So we want to grow definitely the YouTube side because I think that's one of the YouTube and Facebook are the channels we're gonna have live streaming going. So that'll be cool for people. So
sweet.
Where can some of the wonderful fans of our show get some gear for Inner Columbus?
Yes, I'm working on some of that right now, but we do have a store through Soccer Plus.
Oh, nice.
We've had it for like 8 months or something. There's just the black and white jerseys on there. We posted about it, I don't know, last summer. It just was, I think it was just bad timing because everyone was so busy, but it's been on there. And I don't know how much it is, but you can buy a jersey, pick a number if you want with the crest. It's the actual, jersey kits for the UPSL team. So great Condivo 22 high quality kits. You can still buy. I just need to add stuff to it. Or you can like actually buy anything from Soccer Plus because I partner with them. We partner with them, and they'll put the crest on or last name or anything on any apparel. And I'm sure they'll give you a discount or something. You know what I mean? So Soccer Plus in Westerville is super solid. Adam Fisher over there does all that. He does a really good job, and it's just high quality like logos. I mean, it's our logo is really difficult. It's not the easiest logo. And so, like, I don't really get anything embroidered. He said it's possible, but the stitching would be insane, right? So it's like, I'll just keep everything printed because it just looks clean and it's fine. But
sure enough.
So I'm sure if you wanted to get embroidered like a jacket or something, you could. But yeah, no, Soccer Plus is definitely, and there's a store on our website. It's like intercolumbusfc.com/store. So yeah, takes you to the Soccer Plus website. So.
Sweet.
I am looking to get me a 6X, Inner Columbus this year.
Chase Vance, Inner Columbus FC. We will be right back with more the Wisemen Say podcast powered by Yamo Media. Stay tuned.